Hello, this is the presentation for Module 3, Teaching Vocabulary and Word Study in Middle and High School. You'll be reading from Bringing Words to Life, just Chapter 5, and then everyone will read Chapters 2 to 4 in Vocabulary Their Way, and you will split Chapters 5 to 9 amongst the group members, just like you did in Module 2 with Words Their Way. There's only one additional article. I decided that because Module 3 is kind of assignment heavy, that I would cut down on the number of readings. But this article, the Pacheco and Goodwin piece, which you can find under Module 3, will actually help you with the word history and derivations assignment. So I think it's an important one to read. Okay, so you have the group discussion board and synthesis, same process as in modules 1 and 2. If I do need to make updates based on your feedback after module 2, then that will happen in modules 4 and 5. So you have a few questions this time. What are the features of effective vocabulary instruction? What did you learn about instructional sequences or organization for upper elementary, middle, and high school students, and then separately for ELLs? And what is the importance of academic vocabulary across the disciplines? So the chapters that you're splitting from Vocabulary Their Way, each discusses academic vocabulary in a specific content area. So the English language arts or science or social studies, you get the idea. And so each of you will bring in your own individual synthesis the information from the reading that you were assigned. So if you are responsible for English language arts, then you will talk about that. And then as a group, you'll synthesize that, and there probably are some themes across those chapters. And there's probably some areas where they differ as well, because the pursuit of academic knowledge in different content areas does sometimes look different. So it's one big question, but each of you is bringing pieces of information to that. And again, you post it twice like we have been. So you'll also complete the vocabulary project. So this will be part 2 of the instructional resource chart. The instructional resource chart example is still in Module 2, but you also should have your own from Module 2. So you're completing the resource chart just like you did for part 1, except this time you're using words from a student edition from grades 6 to 12. So last time you selected a student edition in K to 5. Now something to consider here is that we're more often to find trade books as the text for coursework such as English language arts. So you might find a novel as opposed to an actual textbook. You can go that route if you choose to. It's really up to you. Or you can just use a more traditional textbook, but just know that you have that option. So that template, again, is available to you. You fill it out the same way you did, just using a different text. For this part, you're completing that IRC as well as the paper and reflection that are described in the syllabus. So it's a 3 to 5 page paper, and that should include the reflection. And it should identify the research base for the various components in the IRC, which is what you've been reading about. So, while they may not match word for word, so when it asks you for examples, for example, we may not talk about it as examples in our course text, but by this point you should have been reading enough to know that examples are necessary to help children develop understanding of words. So you would pull from the text that you've been reading, something that helps you to defend why that's an important component. I do challenge you, if there are pieces that you just don't know why it's important, feel free to write that, and then, but you do need to support that through the text. So if you don't find in the text anywhere that it says a specific component would be important, then talk about that, and talk about maybe a component that would have been more beneficial. You don't have to agree with everything in this course, but you do have to back up when you don't agree. So you're talking about that research base for the various components in the IRC, And those components haven't changed. So even though you have done the IRC twice, you've looked at K to 5 text and a 6 to 12 text, the components that you're looking for have remained the same. So that exercise should help you be familiar with those components. Within the paper, then, you're reflecting on the importance of these components and how and why they assist in students' vocabulary acquisition. So you can do this one of two ways. You could, after you talk about each of the components in the research base, reflect right then about how that component assists children as they're learning new vocabulary. You can also hold it till the end and just reflect on the entire process and all the components at one time. It's really up to you. How you decide that is based on kind of what makes sense as as the paper starts flowing. Also, if you are working as a group, then you'll need to probably talk about that ahead of time. So if you started out working as a group, you may continue to do so. Work on this as a group project, and that includes the paper. So you can submit the paper as a group as well. So for the word histories and derivations, I want you to know that the assignment is actually as simple as it sounds. So try not to make it too hard. Basically, you are collecting and evaluating online games and resources that support K-12 student learning on word meanings and strategies. It doesn't have to just be derivations. It can really focus largely on word meanings. So if everyone in your group is an elementary teacher, primary grades, then you may want to focus more on games that focus on children of that age. Whereas if you're all working with middle or high school students, then you may want to focus on word derivations. This should be something that you collect that's meaningful to you. The article, the Pacheco and Goodwin piece, should get you started. So read that before you start with this assignment. At the end, they provide a list of resources, which is a really nice starting place for you to get a sense of what resources are out there. But then you'll need to do some searching on your own. I do recommend completing this as a group task. I think, more heads are better than one, and you can really think about how you want to bring these different games and resources together. When it talks about evaluating it, I don't need a paper for each. It's really just, would you use it? Why would you use it? And what purpose would it serve in the classroom? The format is really up to you. So you can make it a list. It can be a presentation. You could do a wiki, something that you can just click straight from the page and reach the resources. You need at least 10 resources. If you're working as a group, you may end up with plenty more than that, but that's up to you. It doesn't have to be the entire group. If 3 of you want to work together and 1 or 2 of you wants to do it on your own, you can make that decision. You just need to let me know. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to contact me, although I am going to go back quickly to this word histories and derivations. Like I said, it really is a list. You do need to provide me with the actual resource, so the website or the online game, so that I can look at it and see what it looks like to me based on what you're saying when you talk about what you would use it for. But it's really just a list. And so you can be creative in how you provide it. But what I want most of all is for this to hopefully be a list that you can then utilize in your own classroom. So if you're already teaching and you know what grade you're working with, then you know the kinds of resources that would be helpful to you. If you're not yet teaching, but you have a sense of what grade you will be teaching or want to teach, then think about that for your future classroom. If you do want to work as a group and you kind of are teaching across separate grade levels, then this can really be a resource for your colleagues, something that you can share across the school. So just be purposeful so that it's something that is actually helpful to you. Okay, thanks so much.